Welcome back, guys, to Lunatic Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Lori Lothy, and today we're talking about this lunar eclipse coming up on May 15th, 16th, depending on where you live. It's conjunct an interesting star called Hadar, and across the way, the sun is conjunct Algol, which is a very daunting energy. And this is a very, very visible eclipse. It's going to influence, it's going to cast a shadow over much of the world. Okay, either a partial eclipse, depending on where you live, or a real full-on eclipse. I'll show you a picture in a minute of where this energy goes around the world, but it does impact Western Europe, it impacts South America, and most of North America. It's going to have a big influence on the world. So it's not a small deal, and it's a total lunar eclipse. Totality counts. So because this eclipse at 26 degrees of Taurus covers the entirety, or is it 25? I should know that, right? Let me go look at the exact degree. It is at 25 degrees and 18 minutes of Scorpio, South Node, lunar eclipse total. You're going to find that the totality combined with the breadth of reach around the world means that world events will be strongly activated by this particular eclipse. Now, in your own life, this eclipse can play out as well with something to do with where it can impact your life about letting go, surrendering, releasing. With Scorpio, it could be purging, detoxing, cleansing, and clearing something from your life that no longer serves you. I mean, the moon is what is being eclipsed. It's not really a greatly placed in Scorpio. It's in the sign of its fall. So we got South Node, surrender, let go, disappointment, and loss. We got the moon in its fall, being fully eclipsed in Scorpio, and across the way, the sun is shining on this particular event on the actual star Algol. Now, Algol is a very important star in the sky. It's about the myth of the Medusa's head. I'm going to go into all of that detail in a minute. Don't forget, if you are here for the first time, I am a whole sign Hellenistic astrologer. I'm using Time Lord techniques and tools. Cast your chart in whole signs if you want to really know the lay of the land from the traditional astrology perspective. There's a free link in my description box where you can grab that, and you can just listen to my 5-minute video tutorial and do it yourself and see how you can then understand your chart from a whole sign house perspective. One sign, one house. None of that. My Pisces is in 2 houses. No, that doesn't work that way. Second of all, and this is a Western zodiac, not sidereal. This is not Indian astrology. Second of all, please check out my description box below for my new course, Sky Reader. Be your own astrologer, time your best life, because I'm trying to teach you guys how to do this yourself. And this 6-week live course on Zoom starts on the 22nd of May with me. Super affordable. If you want it even cheaper, sign up for my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, and it drops down to like $197 or something. That's 6 weeks of class content, tons of PDFs, tons of support documents, a live Facebook group, and weekly Wednesday night coaching calls. The classes are on Sunday. If you can't make it, no big deal. You get not only replays and downloads to keep, but you're going to have evergreen access to where I house the course in my Podaya teaching site, and you can use it again and again and catch up if you get behind. And all of that is pretty high touch. I want to make sure that all of you who wish to learn the art of astrology, to read your own natal chart capably, and to make some predictive content based on timing tools for your own life can get something out of it. Okay, so let's get going and let's talk about this eclipse in particular for the world. First of all, I was really thinking about the fact that this particular eclipse has a lot of asteroid points to it as well. So number one, asteroids are like the devil is in the details to me. The minor asteroids are like punctuation marks, and they're really worth paying attention to. I've always said things you can't make this stuff up. Vladimir Putin has the asteroid Ukraine on his Pluto, and if his birth time is correct, which I think I do have a really well rectified chart, it would also be on his midheaven. But just having Ukraine on his Pluto, and Pluto's talking to a bunch of other planets, it was destined to do something with the Ukraine. Okay, which is going to bring me to Vladimir Zelensky and his sky, because this eclipse is a humdinger for him, and I don't think it bodes well for Ukraine, like prevailing or winning the war, as if anyone can ever win a war anyway. The sun on Algol is in a very sensitive place in the sky for the world. This is a place in the sky that was sensitized by the partial lunar eclipse that happened on November the 19th. And that lunar eclipse, the moon was on that star as well. So now that spot is hot and warmed up for an eclipse that already occurred, right, at the Algol point. So that was back behind us in November. And so because of this energy already being activated, because we've already had eclipse energy in that corridor of the sky. This is an interesting redo. What was going on in your life in November? What was going on in the world in November? For instance, November was the Delta thing, but then actually it was the beginning also of the Omicron era. In fact, around the end of the month of November, there was Mercury in the heart of the sun on the asteroid Panacea, the cure for all. Of course, Omicron is like, you know, going to be the endemic cure for the virulent, deadly Delta, which is now gone. Now, in your own life, you might want to go back to November, around the middle of the month. What were you concocting? What were you doing? What were you up to? Because this hot spot in the sky where the sun sits is really sensitive, and it's been activated again, this Algol energy. Now, Algol is the story of the Medusa who was basically a rape victim, and then she got really badly vibed out by, you know, the nasty patriarchal gods culture, and she was Perseus, the hero, slayed her and chopped her head off, and the Medusa's head. Now, Medusa, well, first of all, she got turned into a Medusa, and then later on, her head was chopped off. It's nothing but a bad story, really. Very, very disqualifying of feminine power. The Gorgon was snake heads, right? She became a Gorgon, and her snakes could turn men to stone. You see what I mean? So there's something about the powerful feminine in this story, but at the same time, it does also speak of mayhem and death and piles of corpses in the ancient texts. And I'm not fond of this eclipse because the moon is being eclipsed and it sits on a star called Hadar. And the ancient Arabic terminology for Hadar, even though it's a positive star, it's the nature of Jupiter, the nature of Venus, is a civilized place. Okay, so, and there's an eclipsing of a civilized place. There's an Arabic mansion where this moon is sitting, and it is actually a mansion that is good for the redemption of captives, but also a mansion that is about bad for harvest. So of course, we already know that we are losing grains and harvests from the Ukraine and Russia, who supply the majority of the world's wheat. Now, this eclipse on the moon, Hadar, already at 25 degrees and change of Scorpio, very sensitive sky point, very hot spot in the sky, is also conjunct the Vestal flame of sacred devotion in Volodymyr Zelensky's 6th house. And that can be his health, by the way, just so you know. And it's squaring Saturn on the root of Volodymyr Zelensky's natal sky. Now, Saturn on the root, you know, the root could be homeland, like his IC, the homeland, the home territory where he lives. This eclipse squares that for him. He's got Saturn transiting over his midheaven, which can be sometimes positive because Saturn's in Aquarius, but sometimes negative, right? A kind of a grim reaper of the career path that he's been on. And I don't like the idea that this Vestal flame of sacred devotion sitting at Scorpio 25 degrees is in this part of the sky that represents, you know, the Hadar, the eclipsing moon, a civilized place. I'll go across the way, you know, mayhem and bodies and stuff like that. So I'm anxious-ish here about some kind of really not great war event. I mean, none of it is, but in Ukraine, where there could be some kind of either a challenge to the health. The Vestal flame of devotion for Zelensky is probably that he devotes himself to the house of sickness, not getting sick. He looks like a pretty buff guy. He looks pretty healthy. People think he looks really like action hero-y, right? But this with Saturn squaring where this eclipse happens in the house of sickness for him, it could be a loss of homeland, of course, a loss of the war, or a loss of terms of negotiation that are suitable and make him or anyone happy. And then, of course, we've got that energy on his health house. So that's not good either. He's under a lot of stress. I just saw a meme where they said Zelensky before the war and Zelensky after, and he looks so haggard, but who wouldn't? So his health is under a lot of duress. Saturn is sitting in the sky in Aquarius, and Saturn squares this eclipse. And Saturn, and by the way, if you don't like this stuff, go ahead and jump to your all signs. But if you like the big picture, then stick around. Okay, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, please, and help my channel grow. I answer my comments, I heart them, I listen to you guys, I read your comments. All right, I'm a very engaged astrologer. Shiva, the destroyer, is sitting with Saturn in the sky on the day of this eclipse. Shiva, the destroyer, is an asteroid. That asteroid is going to be activating very, very strongly this particular eclipse because it is Saturn squaring the eclipse at the time of the eclipse. So we've got Shiva the Destroyer, the god of ancient Hindu mythology who destroys in order to create new growth. And we've got Algol active. You get the vibe. Let me show you what the sky looks like, right? So I don't want to be a naysayer and a downer and a bringer of badness. I'm going to show you two things. I'm going to show you, because there is some good news. All right. We have a sextile from Neptune, which isn't too bad, right? Yay, Neptune coming to the rescue, bringing some sweetness, and that can really soften the blow of what looks like an intense event. But anyway, so here you have the eclipse, and I was trying to put in Kiev in the Ukraine. You can see that it's getting a very, very light shadow. This is a 37-minute duration partial eclipse for Kiev in the Ukraine. But you can also see, here's North America, just how the intensity for their eastern coast, Washington, D.C., Rio, Brazil, etc., are getting the full brunt. The full dark color represents a very strong totality where you can see the whole thing, like the whole moon disappear, because it is a total eclipse, right? And it's not visible. Well, it does say that this, yeah, it is partially visible. Yeah, 37 minutes in Kiev. You can also see that other places in the world are totally unaffected, right? Hanging out over here in China, doing nothing. Everything's good. Most of Greenland's out of the area of any problems. Alaska's not getting any of it. But South America, eastern seaboard of North America, all the way down to the Florida Gulf Coast. And you can even see Western Europe's getting it, but again, in partial degrees. So, I mean, for Washington, D.C., United States, this is a more intense energy. The eclipse is hitting really intensely. Scorpio in the U.S. natal chart, Sibley chart, Scorpio is in the 12th house of hidden backroom deals and secrets. And South Node is often spilling and letting go and releasing. And you may find that there are secrets that are revealed from governance and people in power within the U.S. power structures that are quite intense in the 6 months, say up to 6 months that follows the eclipse. Just so you know, all eclipses last about 6 months, between eclipses. So it's not the day of the eclipse. Do not do ritual magic, intention setting, and vision boarding, dangerous magic during an eclipse. It's a highly, highly wild card. I also want to say before I show you this, well, I'll show it to you anyway. I'll give you another glimpse, guys. Here we go. This is the picture of the sky on the eclipse day, and you can see there's the moon at 25 degrees of Scorpio, and there's the sun. I've got this set for Montreal, Canada, but it's like at 12:15 a.m. On the 16th in Montreal, Canada, and of course every place in the world will be a little bit of a different time depending on where you live. So other parts of the world it could be late on the 15th before midnight. Anyway, see, this is the eclipse itself, the sun opposing the moon. And eclipses happen because the nodal axis is nearby. I should draw that in for you guys for astrologer learning types. There you go. So 22-degree north node, sun, south node, moon. This is very tight degrees, and this is a very, very potent and total eclipse because of the proximity of the moon to the south node. And as I was saying, there's this Shiva the Destroyer sitting on Saturn in a very tight square to that moon that's being eclipsed, and in a very tight square to that sun on Algol. And I'd be lying if I felt positive about it. I mean, I can't tell you I don't feel good. Shiva the Destroyer is what it sounds like. Funny, the particles collider at CERN in Switzerland, the big one, has the Shiva the Destroyer in its Shiva the Destroyer statue in front of it, because they're colliding and smashing subatomic particles to smithereens. Right now, Pluto is lending a bit of a love energy here. It's called a trine, but Pluto is also unfortunately plutonium. So I do hope there's no plutonium event. It's in a wedge, right? A wedge, like a door stopper to the eclipse, which is very kinetic energy that goes up to Pluto. So what kind of Plutonian power struggles, people in power, powerful corporate or financial institution energies are part of this eclipse. And here is the good old dreamy Neptune, who also can fog things over and confuse people as well. And he is sextiling and trining the moon. Now, Neptune moon trine, if it wasn't an eclipse, is a very lovely, mystical, magical, ethereal, dreamy, potent spiritual upgrade. Okay. But it's not so great when it's, of course, meshed in a larger eclipse structure. But there could be some sort of sense of there is the icing on the cake, or there's the pot of gold at the end of a calamitous rainbow or something like that. Or there's the silver lining at the end of a storm, would be where Neptune is sitting in the sky in the Pisces quarter of reality. Like, for instance, if I was talking about the Sibley chart of the United States of America, which is a Sagittarius rising, this is the Neptune in the 4th house of the USA. And so that is often connected to, the homeland, the earth. Sometimes it can even represent like the White House or the place where the person in office sits. There's a lot going on here. My feeling is that the Neptune goodness may have some energy around it. We've got a lot of Uranus in here across the way as well, where there is a sudden sense of clear vision and hope and imagination about what is possible in the wake of this eclipse. So maybe it has to do in the United States, for instance, with I'm just really pondering that, the labor force, the economics, the maybe just stemming off a recession, really something like that could be going on. Okay, so we're going to move on and do the all signs. Anything else I want to say? I would add that the sun, even though the sun is on Algol, it's also on 2 other asteroids, Eros, which is passion, and Hekate, which is the goddess of the underworld. Again, intense energy, right? Algol, Hekate, the dark goddess, the sorceress, the goddess of sort of the dark moon, the goddess of the secrets and that which are hidden, the goddess of, more of a spooky quality, the magical. And then you've got Eros, passion, and then you've got Shiva the Destroyer. You get the picture. Algol, the corpses piling up. So my last thing I'll say about it, if it's not Ukraine, it could be something else in the world. There could be a volcano exploding, because we got Uranus and Taurus, a super extreme, shocking weather event that can be catalyzing a sense of shared vision and shared ideals and shared imagination of what humanity can create together, Neptune in Pisces, from a very dark and daunting Shiva the Destroyer type event. So this may just be natural disaster somewhere in the world that wakes the world up. There have been things like that, like the nuclear reactor, well, not the crisis of the reactor, but the tsunami that hit Japan or Thailand years ago. Big things like that we really all pay attention to. We take a collective gasp and we try to imagine, or the trade tower event, finding a new way to be together instead of so polarized. Humanity is so polarized. All right, we're going to do the all signs. Your rising sign is always by far the most accurate. People ask me all the time. It doesn't matter. Your rising sign is always going to be the slam dunk, pin the tail on the donkey, most accurate version of delineation. If you're born at night, sometimes you really align with your moon. And in Vedic astrology, you always look at the moon sign as if it was the first house lord, to see what your feelings and emotions are, your emotional set point about events around you. You want to look at the sun, maybe if you're born in the day, or if you have, just check it out. Just check out your sun. It's a sect light for the day, babies. And also, if you have a stellium anywhere, like I have 4 planets in Aries, and my sun and moon are there too. So if you have like a whole chunk of planets in one sign, listen for that sign too. It will turn out to be relevant, but by far, there's no doubt about it, you're going to definitely get the most juice by listening to your sun sign. Your rising sign. Oh my God, wake me up, guys. I'm going to get some water before I continue. So hang on while I go grab my glass, and we're going to do about 45 minutes of the all signs next. All right, let's do the originally traditional start point with Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. And again, if you have a stellium like me in Aries, even though I'm an Aquarius rising, I definitely use the Aries as well. So Aries, you guys are experiencing this lunation in your 8th house of money that does not necessarily belong to you. Now, all moons shed light, and they represent fullness and completion. They open up some kind of fruitfulness from what would have been in the past, of course, a new moon in the sign of Scorpio. So new moons are seeds and full moons are fruiting. So November the 4th, back in that day, back in that time, there was this Scorpio new moon. So what was happening in your life during the month of November, especially those first couple of weeks, that may now be coming to some fullness, but at the same time, being engaged with eclipse energy, it might be coming to a fullness. It's a completion, graduation, or ending that's pretty final, you know, something you're no longer going to pursue, even if you did plant a seed in November in your money house. Now, the eighth house is money that you are able to get, like from, like, let's say you got a mortgage or a bank loan, or you want to pay off credit card debt, or your credit card, you're extending money on a credit card, or your spouse and your business partners jointly held money, or an investment that you make, all that kind of thing. And you find that that kind of money is not your paycheck. That is not your workaday world. It's also inheritances. Yes, it is. Now, with an eclipse, you know, involving Shiva the Destroyer and a little love from Pluto, the god of death, for some of you, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign people, you're going to receive money as maybe a bequeathment in the fallout 6 months after this eclipse. And with Neptune there in a, you know, beautiful support structure of goodness, kind of like the silver lining in your 12th house, this kind of money can really open up some chances for you to travel, to go around the world, to go into sacred sanctuary places. And that's what Neptune can do in the 12th house. And, you know, you almost might find that you can find your spiritual life awakening or opening up as a result of this eclipse in some way as well. You know, the eighth house is like psychics and witches and occult mysteries and magic and ESP, and some of those faculties may blast open because this eclipse gets a trine from Neptune in your super woo 12th house as well. And Pluto is giving you a lot of support from your 10th house of career, even though he is the god of death. But the 10th house can also be patriarchal figures in your life. So is there a powerful passing of a patriarchal figure? Will the lunar eclipse reveal to you that money has been left, or will it reveal to you the person's not well and maybe passing? These are thoughts, you know. There's definitely a letting go, surrendering, releasing, let go, let God around your money story. It's time to step away and take your hands off the old wheel, you know, Jesus, take the wheel, and not try to grasp and cling to money stories right now and money situations, and let go, let God is the best way to describe it. You're going to have a lot of rags to riches between now and 2026 with Uranus in your second house. It can jolt you to sudden and vast chunks of sudden money in your life. So just relax about it in this particular cycle. You've got North Node Uranus energy in your second house until like late summer of 2023, and Uranus is there till 2026. But with the North Node, I'd say there's going to be some massive extreme ups, you know, in your finances. So this eclipse cycle is propelling you to make more money, the second house, but not to cling to money that you have. So savings, 401k investments, spousal support, grants, alimony, palimony, kind of let that stuff go. Money's coming another way. But also, I do want to say that bequeathment energy could happen with the Scorpio South Node eclipse, because there's a loss and then there's some money that comes from a loss. Anything else I want to say? Shiva the Destroyer with Saturn in your 11th house. You could have some kind of T-square Saturn, tip of the T-square, critical, intense changes, destruction of things that are 11th house. That could be a crushing blow to a dream, wish, or hope. It could be a desire to completely restrict, change, or shift your friendship groups and social groups of belonging, social circles, things like that. You've been doing that anyway for the last couple of years as Saturn navigates, year and a half, navigates through your 11th house. You're very serious and sober-minded and realistic about your dreams, wishes, but also about who you wish to spend time with and which social groups you belong to that are worthy of it. Lastly, the 8th house is a house of secrets, that things that aren't told, that you don't know. It could be familial secrets, ancestral secrets. It could be secrets from your spouse or business partner holding back from you. So these secrets can be spilled with this eclipse cycle. And the lunar energy is to reveal something to you that was hidden. Lunar eclipses can be like putting a black light flashlight on a poster and suddenly you see something in a new light. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So guys, this isn't, I need to put the window open. I'll be right back. It is like so warm in this apartment building. Now it's not warm outside, which is the funny thing. The apartment is hot as heck, but I have to figure out the balance. Okay, where was I? Oh, Scorpio, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Okay, let's get down to the brass tacks here. You have a lunation, Taurus, sun, moon, rising in your 7th house of marriage and business partners, also clients, audience, marketplace, 10th from 10th. All these things I've got a big spotlight on them, except this is a spotlight that's being occluded, total eclipse of your seventh house energies. Now, this is really mostly true for the rising sign Taurus, okay? Secondarily for you sun and moon, just remember that. And certainly if you're a Taurus and your sun, moon, and rising signs are close to, let's say between 23 to 28 degrees of Taurus, you really do feel this really strongly, right? Because it's right on your descendant or right on your sun or right on your moon. Now, what do you have to let go of, Taurus? Do you need to let go of a business partner that's not working and it's really a struggle and you really you have to give it up? Do you need to let go of your marriage partner or your significant relationship because it isn't working? If that's true, this lunation, which is a part of a larger cycle that goes through to the midsummer and even a bit in the fall of 2023, this lunation will help you release and surrender and let go through the mechanism of seeing something in a new way. Go back to November 4th. What were you doing in business and marriage partnerships? Because that seed was planted for what is now a culminating, fruiting, graduating, and completing fullness of a moon that is full, but also eclipsed. So it's very intense. I did say that that moon is on Hadar, and Hadar is a star that has to do with a civilized place or a place, but I don't know, I can't really relate that to your relationship stuff. Algol, though, across the way with Hekate and Eros, a lot of intensity on that sun that the moon is reflecting. That's a pretty intense energy. In what way are you going down into the depths of yourself, Taurus, really looking within at yourself? Hekate is there in the house of you. Eros, what passions do you have within you that you need to look at? Where are you maybe going to lose your head if you're not careful? The Medusa archetype, the Gorgon's head slain. Be very cautious in the days around this eclipse and be very observant of what happens in the 6 months that follow. And then finally, I'd say, well, Shiva the Destroyer is in a T-square. Saturn is in your 10th house. Well, that's your career house or your public reputation. Could you find yourself in a big destructive blow up with somebody or a boss or an authority figure, someone of power above you in a career endeavor that could be very, very difficult and very damaging if you're not careful to your career or to your reputation? A lot of tension here with that destroyer in that 10th house for this eclipse. You might just get up and quit your job. You lose your head. I'm out of here. And the 7th house can represent your legal obligations and your contracts to your employer. And you're just like, I'm busting out. For some of you Tauruses, that's very truly possible. Now, you've got some support from power Pluto, and he's in your 9th house of your dharma and what you really want, and foreign lands and foreign travel, and higher education as well. But Pluto's kind of loving up that moon and this, the eclipsed moon in your 7th house. So you may find like people in power in churches or religious settings or institutional settings like academics can really support you to make new agreements with those people, to make new contracts with those people in some way. You do have the silver lining of Neptune in that also flowing trine, water trine from your 11th house. Now, this can really open up something to do with a really lovely new dream or hope that you have for your life. And it may actually be coming to a fullness through a business partnership, but you have to let go of something first. Or Neptune in your 11th house might be saying it's time to revision your friendships or your groups of belonging. Maybe you don't feel like you belong to your community and it's time to let go, but it's also going to bring something positive by doing that. So some of you Tauruses are definitely looking at a kind of shift here to a new vision and a new imagination, a new hope of what you could create with friendships, groups of belonging. If you were in the film industry, like at all, Neptune rules photography, film industry, storytelling, this could also be about shifting some of the stuff you're doing in that area, choosing new projects, moving into new collaborations with different groups of people in the wake of the 6 months that follow this eclipse, as you let go of old agreements and old contracts and old engagements with others. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. So the Gemini people, you guys are going to experience this energy of a full moon eclipse, a lunation in your 6th house. Now, this is a very interesting place because it can both involve your health, Geminis, or it can involve your work routines and work habits and workplace, the colleagues, the co-worker space. And it's also a house of karmic debt. Now, South Node is to let go, release, and surrender. And the moon is reflecting a off with our heads energy in a house of backroom deals. The sun is in your 12th house with Eros and Hekate and all this intensity. what could be going on in behind the scenes, and watch out for hidden enemies. I have to tell you, especially solar energies, men in a power or authority or patriarchal or authoritative or senior people to you could be not working on your behalf right now. Just be cautious not to take someone at face value during the time of this eclipse, for sure, week 2 before and after, and then in the 6 months that follow. But a south node eclipse cycle is not just one eclipse, it's a series of eclipses. There's going to be another one in the fall, right? So are you at all thinking, go back to November 5th, what were you doing in your work environment or health routines, that you are now coming to some kind of completion and determined clarity about a profound eclipsing of something, a letting go of something to do with your work or your work habits or the people you're working with. Now, it can sometimes be a woman in the workplace is eclipsed. So therefore, that gnarly coworker or the boss is gone, which is fine. That'd be actually quite good for you if you don't want that person around you. Lunar eclipses reveal things you can't see. So if you're struggling with a health challenge or you need to improve your health, and there's a full moon with an eclipse, gives you the eerie red light of an eclipse, you could see yourself. Now I'm cold. Hang on. Finding some kind of revelatory discovery on how to improve your health or resolve a health challenge. You've got that square from Shiva the Destroyer and Saturn in your 9th house. This is a spiritual house, a house of God, the meaning of life, the Dharma, the path you're on, why you're on it. Will you have a massive destruction of the path you're on as you rebirth some new vision for how you wish to be in purpose and in your alignment with your soul for your life? This is a very intense eclipse for Gemini rising, especially. And now, as I said earlier, check your degrees. If your Gemini sun, moon, and rising is between 23, 20, let's go 22 to 28 degrees of Gemini, you're going to have more intensity by degree towards this eclipse. Although this eclipse cycle is an aversion to your first house. So technically it's not as important in terms of that factor. Neptune and Pluto. Pluto's sending power from the money house. So no matter what's going on in your workplace, Pluto says, hey, you're going to get a buyout, you're going to get a bank loan, you're going to get some extra money, you're going to get some kind of support financially. So not to worry about the money piece. Pluto in the 8th house can bring you some really intense power and wealth, especially if you've done investments like crypto or something. But whatever it is, don't invest because I said that. It's some kind of money succor or alleviation despite the tension in the work and health area. Like if you got a health problem, maybe you get workers' compensation, you can take 6 months off, or if the boss is going to fire you, yay you, because you get a buyout package and you can languish in the riches for a while. You got Neptune loving you up from the 10th house, sending you dreamy love, enchantment, unconditional love, super zen mind, all of that stuff. And he's doing that in the career house. So whatever is happening anyway, it all seems like it has some kind of super silver lining for you guys, where there's a rainbow and a unicorn at the top of the sky saying, well, don't worry, it's all going to work out. Your career thing is going to be fine. Don't angst about it. Alrighty. I mean, I don't want to go into everything, but you do have Jupiter going through your 11th house for May 10th to October 28th, and you're going to get friends in high places giving you amazing opportunities and favors. Cancer, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, the lunation is in your 6th house is in your 5th house of your children, the 5th house of your romance, the 5th house of your joy and pleasure and sexuality and fun, inspiration. It's the house of the muse. It's what deeply inspires you. It's where you get out of bed in the morning and jump for joy. It's where you hear, the call of, life force energy, vitality, enthusiasm, and all of that. So it's a house of good fortune. It's a lucky house, and it can bring some money luck through speculation as well. However, this is a total lunar eclipse in this house. Now, this can be South Node lunar eclipse, time to let that kid move out of the nest, or the kid moves out suddenly because of Algol, off with their heads, and you have to let the child go. This can be a disappointment or an ending in a romance that's gone into fizzle and it's dying out or dies out quickly. This could also be about an inspiration or a project creatively that no longer holds your interest, and you realize you have to let it go. And if you have any desire to have your own business and you already do that, South Node transit through your 5th house is kind of taking the air out of the tire and maybe having you investigate a new direction for your self-made entrepreneurial essence of who you may be, finding more enjoyment by letting go of what doesn't work, maybe. Because you have the square to Saturn in your 8th house. Some of these energies now are impacting your finances. This letting go in the 5th house has a crunchy vibe to your 401k plan, or your ability to pay your mortgages, or your bank loan, or your spouse's money, or if you're in the alimony spousal support cycle or something like that, that stuff is kind of crunchy for you. There's a real grit to the sky. And this eclipse could reveal to you something. Go back to November 5th. What were you doing then? That could be connected to what's fruiting here in this full moon eclipse. And, things to do with jointly held resources with a business or spouse can be very much on the table, and how you manage that money. Saturn is going through your 8th house since December 2020, and we'll be there till March of 23. So you're trying to sober up your money and be conservative with your money, and be realistic with your savings, and be realistic with your pension plan and all that stuff. Cancer rising. And now you've got this gritty energy, sudden jolting energy, because there's Uranus, it's unexpected. There's Algol, it's off with her head. You may have I don't want to worry you, you may have an unpleasant surprise, like some money you were counting on, like your spouse is supposed to provide, or the bank was going to give you something, kind of maybe not going to go through the way you expected it to. However, on the good side, you've got some support from Neptune and from Pluto. So Neptune in your 9th house of God is awakening a deeper spiritual part of you, and it's going to connect you to greater vitality, greater soulfulness, greater joy in your quest for what's true in your life. It's like you get like a God moment or something, a bit of a splash of enlightenment could fall out from this eclipse. And let's face it, a lot of times enlightenment comes on the heels of a really difficult time, like Eckhart Tolle on a park bench, Neptune in your 9th house is like dreaming and visioning things to do with foreign lands, foreign shores, visas, and courts. And Neptune's positively impacting the eclipse cycle. So for you, it could be like, wow, that fell apart, but look at this. I've got my dream vacation now, or I got the visa I thought I'd never get, or who knows. Or higher education as well. You get accepted to your dream college. That's very possible, because Pluto is in your 7th house of contracts and legal agreements, and Neptune is in the 9th house of courts. So things to do with documents, legal agreements, and visas and travel and all of that are very supported in a positive way. Lastly, all eclipses of the moon are usually about revealing something to you, so you can see something anew, see something differently. So keep that in mind. What could you see anew to do with your children, your romance, your independent business enterprise, etc.? Money luck, a speculation, maybe in the wake of all kinds of gritty money stuff, you suddenly have a revelation about, I need to buy that, altcoin or something. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign, energized by the moon in your 4th house of home fullness. Go back to November. What were you doing? What were you doing in November 4th-ish? Because that was when you planted seeds for home-based fruiting and fruition. However, this cycle of eclipses, Leo rising sun and moon, especially if you're Leo sun rising sun and moon, is between 22 and 28 degrees of Leo. You're really getting a lot of call by the sky over the next year to move, surrender, release your home, like change your lease, move to a new place, sell your house, get a new house, whatever. 9 out of 10 times the South Node eclipse cycle through the 4th house will lend itself to a move. And you may call on, and by the way, if your root of your chart, the IC, which floats in whole sign houses, is in your 4th house, this is even more true. The 4th house is the house of the mother, the house of ancestors. Do some of you Leos need to let go of your mother, your connection to your mother? Are you too fixated on your mother? Is your mother going to be leaving the planet? Is she elderly? You also have this feeling that you have the ancestral line, South Node connection. It's time to go into a deeper exploration and revealing of your ancestral history, your family of origin stories, what can be supporting you there, what you need to let go of, etc. You have a lot of intensity in the 10th house, a push-pull between the home and the career, and Algol off with their heads, and mayhem at the top of the sky, Uranus sudden. So certainly some of you Leos may have a sudden exciting, because Uranus can be exciting, North Node expanding, stuff going on in your career right now. But it could also be very challenging, because there's a T-square to Saturn in your 7th house. Is it like you have no time for your husband or your partner or your you're not able to connect to other people that are important to you because it's being restricted by Saturn. I mean, if you're a Leo rising, especially, having Saturn in your 7th house might have already kiboshed a long-term relationship, kind of put the death knell, grim reaper spell on it sometime since December of 2020, and will be kind of doing that vibe until the end of, till March of 2023. Or your relationship with your significant other or business partnerships feel hard, really hard right now. Saturn's goal is to make you have stable and lasting foundations in your significant partnerships in life. And he doesn't mince words there. So if he doesn't think it's gonna, if the foundation's cracked, he ends a cracked up relationship. So you have some love from Neptune, and you have some love from Pluto. Now, Neptune is in a trine to that moon. Sorry, yeah, water trine to that moon. And Pluto is in a sextile. So Pluto's sextiling from the house of health and work protocols, and the Neptune energy is coming out of your 8th house of other people's money. It's a really weird placement to see how Neptune can bring you money from the 8th house. I mean, honestly, I'd go like royalty income from a screenplay you wrote, or residual monies from a movie or something like that. Neptune is psychic and energy and channeling, and the 8th house is occult mysteries and channeling and dead people. So could Neptune give you some guidance from ascended masters, dead people, and forces from beyond this dimension that really support you and help you regarding this letting go of the ancestral stories, letting go of the home, letting go of where you live, all that kind of thing. Look for revealing, not necessarily jolting change, but revealing to you things you need to see and understand in order to decide whether or not you are going to move somewhere. All right. I had an eclipse cycle over the root of my chart, and I moved from Montreal to Vancouver. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know why. It was a lunar eclipse that revealed the why to me. All right, let's keep going. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Virgo people, you have this energy of a full moon eclipse happening in your natal 3rd house. Now, this can be really about things going on in your local neighborhood, you know, and it's kind of a weird house. It's like your siblings, your extended aunts, uncles, and cousins. It's the hood that you live in. It's short trips and travel. It's skills-based learning and education. A lot of stuff in that house. Online platforms. And South Node is let go, let go, let go. Okay, surrender, surrender, surrender. Release, release, release. All right. Is it time to change your neighborhood? Is it time to let go of a trip you really wanted to take? Is it time to surrender a dispute with a sibling or aunt, uncle, or cousin? It's subtle energy. Now, the South Node is sometimes like a basket of gifts and abilities, and this is the house of the goddess, so scryers, diviners, and seers. So maybe you're going to be called to activate some latent talent as a psychic, intuitive diviner in your own being, and the moon, this full moon, can reveal that capability you have to you, and you might want to just jump aboard and use it. I would also say, though, that you have all that calamity in your 9th house of higher education, foreign lands and travel, and spiritual communities and temples and churches. That's the 9th house, where there is Sun on Algol and Uranus and the North Node. Just remember, as I mentioned earlier, there was a taste of that Algol energy in your 9th house back in November on the 19th with a lunar eclipse up there. This is quite possibly going to be some kind of tension between the 9th house stuff. Like, so the education story would be, you really are feeling exhilarated, excited to push yourself into new bounds and exciting new frontiers of freedom in what you want to learn and study. That's all that 9th house energy. And there's sudden, oh my God, you know, Algol energies, you know, taking off, where you suddenly have a dramatic, a new direction because you are being given revelation with the moon in the 3rd house of learning. So maybe you decide you want to learn something completely different than what you've been studying, and you're going to take on a skills-based learning in the 3rd house. And it's going to be like very intuitively the right thing for you. Just making up stuff. It's a metacosmos axis 9 and 3. They're between the worlds. Some of this is a very spiritual vibe, working at a deep soul level within you. All right, Virgo rising as well. You may find yourself having to let go of something in your local neighborhood that was important to you, and or someone. Sometimes the 3rd house are friendships that with people we grew up with in elementary school or when we were young or in our local hood. And so some of those friendships may be waning, and you may be letting go as well. You do have that T-square to Saturn in your 6th house of health protocols and work routines. This can be a lot of tension around I mean, you're working hard. Let's no doubt about it. Saturn's been in your work house since December of 2020. You're working your ass off and you're super slaving away. You're really dedicated to your work right now. You're going for it. You're really digging into working hard at something, whether it's a job or your total career path, doesn't matter. There's a T-square, tension from the workplace to the home place of your local hood or your trips and travels or what you want to study. And there's a gritty tension here. And somebody who's an authority, Saturn in the place of your work, could be really in your face around this eclipse and in the months that follow. You may have to contend with a gnarly authority figure, a boss figure in the work, and you have to come to terms with how to make that work. But you got support from Pluto. And so go back to November, what was happening around November 4th regarding the themes I've talked about, because it's coming back for full fruiting here. Pluto is in your 5th house, and it's a house of children and romance and the house of joy and vitality, what gives you joy. And in Vedic astrology, it's a skills-based learning house as well. So again, is there some other kind of learning that would really vitalize and power you up that you wish to really take on? And Pluto says, I'm here to give you powerful support to do that. Yay. And Neptune is your marriage house, and there was just a love up of Neptune, Venus, and Jupiter there. So you've been upgraded in your love life, and you're more enchanted with your partner, or you met the one or something. And now Neptune, from the house of your significant partnerships, business and love, is also looking over this full moon and saying in a trine harmonious flow, he's saying something like, well, you can do this with the support of some other. Is it a business partner? If you're into social media and you want to do stuff, Neptune's YouTube and TikTok. I mean, Neptune is moving film imagery. So finding yourself, pushing yourself in that direction, if you are the online type and you are a Virgo rising, this is very, very good. And sun and moon as well. And always remember, the degrees where it's most acute, so Virgo sun, moon, and rising is about 22 to 28 degrees of Virgo, sun, moon, or rising sign. You're going to have the most intensity from this eclipse. However, intensity doesn't always mean a bad thing. In this case, it's sextiling your ascendant, sun, or moon. So it's intense, but it's more or less positive. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. I forgot you last video on the Jupiter series. I pinned it to the top of the comments. I put a video just for you in the description box. People are all over me on that. I didn't really know how many Libras follow my channel, but for me to re-edit and then resplice is going to take too much time. So I apologize. So Libra, I'll go a little long for you and love you back up a bit more. So Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. The eclipse cycle has the moon sitting in your 2nd house. And this full moon is a part of a longer story asking you, Libra, to let go, surrender around your hustle, your earnings drive, your desire for possessions, safety, and security. It's all of the things that we normally want in life, getting our groove on for being successful financially. And yet the eclipse cycle is like, let go, surrender, don't focus that way. And instead focus on the 8th house, money that you invest, residual income, passive income, business partner monies that are collaborative, or your partner's money to support you, or an inheritance even. So the energy of the 8th house is activated as a evolutionary direction, really, whereas there's a pulling away from the 2nd house, like maybe like the wage earnings are coming to a close here, or the way you've been making the money has coming to an end. And with this eclipse, you're going to have a lot of energy coming from the opposite side, right? The 8th house. So you could have North Node and Sun and Uranus, some sudden jolt of exciting change in your money status that is going to propel you to make some clear decisions based on new understanding or perception about your money and your work. And maybe it's something very simple, guys. I mean, maybe you don't have to have dramatic events. Maybe this is more like you just realize, you saved up X number of dollars and that you can take a break and you don't have to work so hard. Now, Saturn is T-squaring from your 5th house, this eclipse, right? Squares the sun, squares the moon. The 5th house is joy and fun. And are you having any? Because Saturn's been here since December of 2020, and it's like you're working hard to have fun. Fun is kind of suppressed here. If it comes to romance, you want enduring, lasting legacy love. You want to meet somebody who's mature and responsible, maybe even older, but certainly somebody who can go the distance with you. And that's your filter for love as well. You're not frivolous right now for love and romance, nor are you frivolous regarding your desire for joy and, pleasure, but you're seriously tackling it. And lastly, your children can be a burden when Saturn's in your 5th house if you have them, Libras. So this energy of working hard to have fun is grittily squaring this moon in your second house. And it may ask you as a Libra, it may propel you to find something new in a way. I mean, the fifth house is independent business, entrepreneurial, self-starter. Well, it's really like being the boss of your own company. And over the 6 months that follow this eclipse, some of you might strike out and start your own business if you haven't already during that Saturn transit. Again, remember the degrees that it's most germane to. Lastly, you've got love and support from Pluto to power up good things to do with where you live. You could have a very powerful upgrade over the 6 months that follow in your home, or you're very powerful from your home, maybe because you're doing your own home-based business. Neptune is sending a ton of support over to you in this lunation, to your money house and earnings house, and of course, sextiling your savings and your 401k and your passive income and your inheritance monies. So Neptune in the sixth. Now, Neptune in the sixth can mean that you've gone through a period of health challenges over the last, like 2011, that no one can figure out what's wrong with you. Nebulous, nobody can figure out what's going on, foggy health challenges. But Neptune here wants to inspire you to have visions and dreams that are really high level about what it is you wish to do as work that is of service to the greater good. So look for some support for those themes as Neptune, who's very magical, enchanting, and supernatural, is waking up a positive spin on money aligning with visionary work habits or visionary work directions in some way. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising. Well, of course, this is all about you. You are going through an eclipse cycle that is in the house of you. South node transiting through the house of you, starting in January of 2022 to July of 23. This is very much an intense period of that nodal transit, with eclipses that kind of spread out all the way to the fall, actually, of 2023. Well, first thing I want to say, I'm biting my lip on you, is that you have to watch your health, especially if your sun, moon, or rising sign is anywhere around the degrees of, for this eclipse, like let's say 22 to 28 degrees of Scorpio. And so South Node is like depleting and it's letting go. You can feel sad, depressed, sorrowful. You can have fatigue. You may struggle with feeling vitalized. Your health may not be the best, right? And yet the South Node eclipse cycle, full moon, go back to November 4th. What was going on for your body, your health, your sense of identity in November around the new seed that was planted in the house of you? And energy wise, this full moon, this total lunar eclipse is really going to open up a massive energy field of something that you need to see clearly, something you need to be able to perceive in a new way regarding your body and your personality and your personhood, the character you're here to be in this lifetime. With a lot of calamity energy, with Algol and a Uranus in your seventh house, some of you Scorpios have been having intensity in your business and primary love partnerships for quite a while now. But since Uranus got there back in 2018-19, but things have intensified since January. Now, this could be about your partner too. Like they're going through intensity, they're going through intense stuff, and you're just on the sidelines and it's depleting your energy. But you're supposed to focus more on them anyway. Put your energy there. North Node is there. It's not a bad idea to put your attention away from you and into the one you're with, or the business partner you're with, or your audience, marketplace, and clients, that kind of thing. You have a square, T-square from Saturn in your fourth house. It's a home, it's the real estate, it's your domestic private life. That's feeling gritty. You might not be satisfied with your home. You might be wanting to have your forever home, your legacy home. And Saturn's trying to bring it on, but this is a gritty, crucible tension energy in the sky regarding this idea of your home life and your home itself, like the place you live or rent or buy. So you could come up in the 6 months that follow this lunar eclipse with a new aha and new revelation about what you can do to resolve this tension that's happening here. Fourth house is the legacy house, the family of origin stuff, the ancestral line. You may have some tension with a mother or father figure as a result of this particular eclipse, just as a possibility, not necessarily. It is legacy wealth. Saturn is the elder. Do you have an elder family member who may pass? It could offer you a break with some legacy wealth. I'm not sure, just thinking about out loud. With Neptune going through your 5th house of romance and children, especially with the romance part, this is a really sweet transit. It confuses you. And sometimes since 2011, you've been fogged out about finding your true partner and you've put rose-colored glasses on, but it can also lead to a soulmate love story. And Neptune in your 5th house is loving up this energy, sending, support, let's call it support to the eclipse cycle, opening up positive flow of vitality, inspiration, creativity, in visions, art, high art to your identity, and bringing you that kind of silver lining to the intensity. You're maybe more creative and procreative than you've been in a while. Be careful about that procreative. And lastly, you have energy from Pluto in your 3rd house of siblings and local neighborhood and trips and travel and learning and skills-based learning and online world stuff, also sending support over to, and Pluto happens to be on an asteroid called Minerva, which I didn't talk about, but since the 3rd house is literally the house of skills-based learning, Pluto may be revealing over the 6 months that you should learn something skills-based though, practical, like get your real estate license or learn how to drive an Uber car or whatever. So you may learn something in the wake of this eclipse because you have a revelation that it would be a good idea, and it would be very powerful and positive impact in your life. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising signs. So Sagittarius, you're having the full moon lunation in your 12th house, and it's subtle. You're not going to feel that directly. It's the 12th house is hard to see. It's like, it's like the sofa on the rug and the trapdoor underneath. And what the heck, it's down there, it's over there. It's often not very easy to access from the personhood of your 1st house. However, there is a revealing and an opening of some kind of deep wisdom that can come. Super woo, 12th. A dream at night. Information from your spirit guides. A revelation from your meditation. That is all very powerful around this lunation. And it is going to support you to be in alignment with your dharma, your karmic debt payment plan, to open up perhaps some gateways for you to more spiritual connection to your soul. This is a subtle thing, Sagittarius is. I'm not going to, it's very in between the worlds, intercosmos energy, both the sun and moon, 6 and 12 axis. You're supposed to expand your work to be of service to the world. Right now, there's a North Node transit through your 6, but you're letting go as well of addictions, self-sabotaging habits and patterns. And with a full moon eclipse here, there's a strong possibility of eclipsing an addiction that has belabored you for a long time, or a self-defeating habit or pattern that you've really struggled with. And in the wake of this eclipse, over the months that follow, you will be able to release it once and for all. So self-undoing gets undone. We get support. Well, let's talk about the grit from Saturn. Saturn in your 3rd house, siblings, local neighborhood, extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins can be very high pressure energy for you and maybe causing you some discomfort and difficulty in the time around this eclipse and in the 6 months that follow. You could watch out for as well a sense of restriction and constraint regarding travel, somehow making you feel beleaguered, Maybe you want to travel on short trips and journeys and you can't. Maybe you commute too much and you can't do it anymore. You're tired of the commute. Who knows? Maybe your brother or sister is being a pain in the ass. Sagittarius, some of this stuff is happening for your good, but it is also difficult. Now, you get some support from Neptune in your house of home, and this could mean that you're going to find a beautiful new home in the 6 months that follow this eclipse, and it could even be homing yourself in a foreign land because the South Node is in the house of foreign lands. And you also may find with Pluto in your 2nd house that the money story supports the home in a foreign land, or the money story, Pluto in your 2nd house, the earnings money story, voice, vocation, calling. This is all getting a lot of support from this eclipse cycle to maybe move a home, to be able to finance a dream home, those kinds of things. So pay attention to those opportunities in the months that follow this eclipse. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Capricorns, guess what? This is a full moon in the very happy house of good spirit, the 11th. I like to think of it as a fairy godfather, godmother house. It's full of some positivity up there, karmic rewards. So yeah, it is a letting go, and it is a release, and it is a surrender. It is a depleting energy of the south node, and it is a house that's sometimes associated with what we aspire to in our lives, what our dreams, our hopes and wishes are. And there's an ending here, Capricorn. What you wanted and yearned for and dreamed and hoped into being, your 5 to 10 year plan, maybe dissolving, it may be releasing, it may be letting go. And go back to November 4th, because that was a new moon planted in that hopes, wishes and dreams. Now there's a fullness here, a graduation or a completion. There may be a connection. You may also be letting go of social groups and belonging and circles of influence, and even willing to let go of great gains from your career for some other reason, something is more important to you than the great financial reputation and money from your career. You may be softening in that area. This full moon eclipse is going to be squared by the sun in your second house of earnings. So now that is like letting go. I quit your job, or your job quits you, or your earnings you get a docking or a decrease in your earnings. Your money flow is not the best. All right. Or you're working so hard for it, it's not worth it. Saturn in the second house. And suddenly this eclipse is going to reveal to you how you need to reconstruct yourself around the money story. Saturn in your second house for the last year and a half is making you feel anxious about your money, fearful about your money. Okay. I know Capricorn is going through this right now. I know two who are, and now this eclipse is kind of bringing that to a head. Yet the energy of the 5th and 11th house, where the cycle of eclipses are happening, is positive. These are good houses. And the North Node in your 5th house, as a general principle, is expanding your chance for some money breaks, some money luck. So yeah, you can worry about it, but why, Or you may feel like your money is a burden, or your earnings are a burden, or making money is a burden. And this eclipse is going to bring this to a head, and it's going to open up a new perception, a revelation, an insight, a new way of seeing how you can align your wishes and dreams and hopes and groups of belonging with your earnings in a new way, and with your career. Pluto in your first house is offering some support here. Pluto being power. You've been Plutonianized since 2008. You've been going through major self-transformation and rebirth energies. And now this metamorphosis of self, this huge transmutation is still supporting you. And in this case, it's supporting that eclipse. So how is your redefining, by letting go of old goals and dreams, going to blossom you into a big, beautiful new butterfly of identity? And lastly, like, I used to work so hard and now I'm retired. I used to, do this and now I don't. Okay. Pluto, okay, and Neptune in the 3rd house of trips and journeys and travel, adventures, the local neighborhood, moving to a dream neighborhood, taking dream trips over the months that follow, finding an educational path that involves Neptune, film, story writing, photography, art, music. Could be very much a part of some Capricorn stories, wanting to get more into your spiritual life as well. The house of the goddess, getting more involved with divining and oracles, scryers and seers, the woo, the magical. Neptune's supporting that part of your sky, saying, like, yeah, let's do that. Wake it up. And maybe you get into new groups of belonging in new neighborhoods, because maybe there's a dream neighborhood to which you are going to relocate. You never know. This eclipse could offer you the opportunity to see where that might be over the months that follow. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign, me. Okay, so we are having the eclipse happen in, this is so intense for me. We're having the eclipse of this south node in our 10th house. Here I am, your astrologer, telling you that I've got a leaky boat in my 10th house. Like, there's a south node eclipse cycle going through my 10th, telling me to let go and surrender something I've been doing. I can't figure out exactly which piece of that I'm letting go of. But there is a call to release some part of my career in order to allow something new to blossom. So all of us Aquariuses are feeling that energy of almost like having a slow leak in the inner tube or in the tire or the vehicle car of our career. And the South Node energy is letting go, and the full moon is there. What was going on, Aquariuses, during November, that you're now going to like let it go or surrender it? So I got a couple of thoughts for me, but we'll see what it is. And sometimes with the South Node through the 10th house, we're going to bring past life talents and abilities to our purpose in our career. And we're going to open up our field of cities or spiritual gifts in service of our career. But for the most part, it's a letting go of something we've been doing in order to birth something new. With a North Node in our fourth house, a lot in Uranus, a lot of us are, especially with Algol here. Oh my God, that Algol eclipse in November, what a shocking doozy that was in my world. Anyway, it kind of backwashed for me into having to move from Montreal. But I want you to think about this energy for you as what could be going on in the wake of this lunar eclipse that reveals to you as well, something to do with your career and purpose as it relates to where you live. Okay, so maybe a sun on Algol, sun on Hekate, some kind of deeper sun on Eros across the way, some kind of exciting, revealing and opportunity regarding where you live coming in the 6 months that follow this particular eclipse. It's angular for you. It's important. It's intense. Saturn, the Lord of your sign, our sign. So are you Aquarian rising, sun and moon with between 22 to 28 are really getting the heat of this. That's not me. Phew, I'm like 16 Aquarius rising, but a lot of you are really, really feeling intense, whether it's exact or not. Saturn is squaring this, and he's like, your Lord, he's your Lord. He's back in your first house, or he's coming close to your sun or your moon. And you know, you don't mind him, right? Because he's part of you. He's like the tough taskmaster, the Zen master with the stick, the guy who bosses you around for your own good, you know, the super strict principal of the school or whatever. So Saturn is getting on our case here, and we're being sober-minded, realistic. We are navigating everything with a kind of temperament of super adulting, and this super adulting Saturn is a part of what we have to pull out the plug in our career and move our home as well, perhaps because of this eclipse cycle as a whole theme in 2022 into 23. With support in this cycle for this lunar eclipse from Pluto in the 12th house, this is PayPal and Stripe processors. This is foreign lands. This is your deepest spiritual aspirations. This is your, I mean, Pluto's been in the 12th house for Aquarius risings now since 2008, can bring spiritual awakenings, bar none, complete dissolution of the ego. I've had two. So, you know, Pluto's saying to the eclipse, let me help. Let me move into this alignment with a letting go of the 10th house career and purpose, and let me support some powerful relocation to a potent new nest. So keep that in mind in the 6 months that follow this eclipse for you Aquarians. Neptune in your second house is very much like, you're going to make money, but it has to be spiritual. He's been doing that stupid story for you guys and confusing the heck out of us since 2011. Like, he's got high standards for how money shows up in our life, and he's not getting out of there till 2025. But storytelling, filmmaking, screenplays, video like YouTube with you guys, these are all Neptunian things, and I use that, of course, in my way I make money. So you can see how Neptune has served me in my second house. I don't know how some of you other Aquarians have been doing, but that's what's been going on in my world. Oh my God, am I still recording? Thank fucking God. Excuse my language. Anyway, anything else? I think I covered it. Let's move on to the Pisces sun, moon, and rising sign folk. Pisces sun, moon, rising sign. You've got the lunation in your 9th house of foreign lands and God. Now, it's usually foreign lands to where you're born, but if you've moved to another country, it can be moving away from that country to back to your home or to another country, because the South Node is taking energy out of the foreign lands house, the visas house. Maybe your visa is going to expire where you live. If you're trying to deal with legal and court situations, the North South Node is saying, let go, release, let God. This is a cycle that's going on for the Pisces right now. Pisces sun, moon, and rising, especially between 22 degrees and 28 degrees, you're really getting this with great intensity. And you will also find that because this is a letting go in the 9th house, you may also be letting go of certain beliefs you held about what life is made out of, about God, about wisdom, about how the world works. You may be going through a spiritual redefinition. You may let go of a religion. You may quit your spiritual path to find a new one. At the same time, you're getting a lot of energy during the entirety of this eclipse cycle to pull you into 3rd house things, more mystical, goddess, synchronicity, more focus on siblings or aunts, uncles, and cousins, or short trips and travel, or even getting out into your own neighborhood as you let go of the 9th house energy. And if you're thinking of going to school or you're in school, this can mean you're going to change your major, end things. You have a big reveal in the 6 months that follow, and you realize you're done with this major, you're going to remove yourself from this university, can let go of that direction as well. Or these teachers or guides that you've been studying with, you're going to let go of them and surrender and move into something new and different. Go back to November 4th. What were you doing regarding everything I've been talking about to do with themes that were planted in that 9th house? Seeds that were planted regarding foreign lands, travel, visas, courts, higher education. And then you've got the square from Saturn. Saturn's been in your 12th house. It's a hermit transit. It makes you very solo, celibate, introspective, navel gazing, and alone often, and feeling alone as well. But as Saturn's been going through here since December of 2020, you're being asked to also spiritually deepen. And it's really a spiritual cleaning up of karmic and past life qualities as you get ready for Saturn to come into your first house in March of 23. Sometimes spiritual guides, mentors, and teachers can show up for you. And like for me, during my Saturn in my 12th, I studied like with a couple of amazing astrologers. My teacher was Achuta Bhava, who used to be Adam Ellenbus. You may study things that you need to learn so that you can have a new path in life. And so keep your ears open for study. And with this eclipse, so there's grit here, there's tension. Like what's happening here? Like, oh, I don't like my teacher. Oh, I've got to let go of that, spiritual belief, and it's gritty and it feels hard. And there's a tension there. It's subtle, it's psychological, it's soul work, it's spiritual energy that you're dealing with here. Pluto is lending a bit of support, friends in high places, powerful people who have your back, or groups of belonging that power you up to get you through this eclipse. This revelation, this new way of seeing something about your story, your path, the meaning of life, the meaning of your life, your dharma, and Neptune in the house of you, fogging you up about who am I? What am I? Where are my boundaries? Am I, real or Memorex? This has been happening with Neptune transiting there since 2011 in the house of you. Now, it's most acute for people right now who have their rising sign, sun or moon, let's say between 20 and 26, 7 degrees of Pisces. You're really being Neptune deputized. So you're becoming more mystical, more magical, more spiritual, more imaginative, more visionary, more dreamy. You might suddenly discover you're good at photography, writing, filmmaking, paint, high art, music, all that. So for your Pisces, there's this really intense energy that Neptune's flowing toward that water flow, water trine, to that eclipse in your 9th house of God and truth and wisdom and mentors and guides. So what could be happening here? Spiritual vision, a spiritual download coming to you, a new way of seeing where you really want to be, especially regarding that 3rd house. Do you want to be closer to a sibling? Do you want to move to a new neighborhood? Do you want to find a new thing you want to learn, a skill or ability, and move away from the high philosophy and the academia vibe of the 9th and move toward the 3rd? Well, you'll see. You'll see. I have to say that for you, you're one of the signs for whom this is a very subtle, spiritual, in between the worlds vibe. It's not like in your face, real world stuff. It's more your soul work that this eclipse is excavating for you. All right. Your spiritual beliefs and your connection to God. So that's about it. Thanks for listening. I appreciate, guys. Oh my God, my table's rocking back and forth, being here with me today. And I support all of you to consider, and I didn't even pitch you guys, taking my Sky Reader course. Check the link below. Learn astrology, be your own astrologer. And if you are, you can time your best life. Alrighty, check it out. It's super cheap. Sign up for my Cosmic Moonshine newsletter, and then you get even 30% off the early bird rate, knocking the price down to $197 for 6 live courses, replays available. It's a deal. All right, ciao, ciao, everyone. Big hugs.